one of the things Jung conceptualized marriage, because marriage is a human universal, by the way, something to think about. So it looks like it's built into us pretty hard at a biological level. So there's variations, obviously, and there are certain attractions in polygamy, especially for men. But all things considered, no matter where you look in the world, there's generally an attempt by the culture to sacralize a man-woman pair. Now, Jung was trying to figure out why the hell that would be. And I mean, there's the biological necessity, obviously. You've got to raise kids somehow, and there shouldn't just be one of you. But you don't want to just reduce everything down to the, to the level of two rats living together, even though that's an important level. He said that one of the things that's really useful about a vow is that you can't run away from the damn thing if it's an actual vow. So what you're supposed to do when you marry someone is you say, look, I'm stuck with you. And we're going to bet on this, because we only get 5 shots at it anyways, and you're the least awful person I've come across. And so let's tie ourselves together so we can't escape and see what happens. And so then you think, if you take that seriously, you think, oh my God, I'm stuck with this damn person for the rest of my life. Well, so then what do you do? If you really can't escape, you think, well, we better build something out of this, because we're stuck in it. And so Jung conceptualized the marriage as an alchemical container. And he derived this from his studies on alchemy, where two opposite substances were placed together in a container they could not escape from, and then exposed to heat. And the heat's the relationship, obviously, and all the emotions that the relationship generates. They're exposed to heat, and they can't get out of the damn container. What happens? Well, there's a transmutation. And the transmutation is a consequence of the exchange of information. So, and we know this works at a biological level, right? So, part of the reason that there is sex is because if we split your DNA down the middle and match it with something that's exactly the same, wherever there's a weakness, the two weaknesses are going to combine, and you're going to end up with offspring. They're all mucked up. That's basically a consequence of inbreeding. So what you want to do is you want to take your flawed genetic substance, which is, 99.9% good, and someone else's flawed genetic substance, and snap them together, and hope like hell that the errors don't match up. And they probably won't. And so that's what you're doing in a relationship. It's like, you're screwy in some way you can't fix, and so is the other person. And so you slap those two things together, and you hope that out of that, you build a totality. Okay, and that starts the information flow moving. So then the question is, what would you do if the information flow was curative? What would happen to you? So let's say you're 20% warped, which in case would be pretty good, And your partner's 20% warped too, but luckily your warps don't match up. What that means, if you listen to each other over a long enough period of time, if you really communicated, then you wouldn't be warped anymore, and neither would the other person, and then you'd have the archetypal situation as well as the individual situation. Right? You see what I mean? Because you both have been elevated up to the point where you're not full of holes anymore. And you think, well, that's part of the purpose. Insofar as there's a psychological and spiritual function of marriage, that's it. And so you can have freedom. You can say, well, this is a knot that we can untie. But the problem with that is, you don't have to contend with the person then. You don't have to take it seriously. You don't have to take it as if it's life and death. But the problem is, it is life and death. It is. Maybe you can have another shot at it. I don't see why you think you'll do better the second time, because all the evidence suggests that you won't. The divorce rate's higher for second marriages. It's like, the thing about being tied to someone who isn't you is that they're not you. They have something to tell you, if you listen. And so then you start with the flawed individual, and if you bang yourself against each other enough, what you hope is that you both develop and you shed your excess baggage along the way. And that can happen, It's a good thing if it happens. You live longer. You have a better life. It's a better situation for your children. It's like everybody wins in that situation.